The mystery of Mars's moons points to a potential ring system like Saturn. 4 fast radio bursts pique curiosity. They're not coming from a supermassive black hole. And Proxima Centauri B confirmed 4 years since discovery, 4-ish light years away. It's Tuesday, June 9, 2020. Let's talk science.
Across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts and YouTube, this is Talking Science with Dr. Brad Tucker and Matt Miller.
And what an eclectic mix of stories we have for you today on Talking Science. Dr. Brad Tucker, happy Tuesday.
How's it going?
Really good, really good. When I got your email this morning with the stories that we're going to cover, I was very excited. SpaceX is out of the news. China's rocket troubles are out of our news. Everything's just going back to normal, it sort of seems.
It sort of seems, yeah. Deceptions are deceiving, but you know, it's that's the way it goes, and yeah, there's still a lot to get through.
There certainly is. And another thing in our opener today, I have dropped our count up clock of how long it's been since coronavirus has locked us down at day 79. I think everyone gets the point that it's the new normal.
Yeah, and look, you know, lockdown is slowly changing here in Australia and getting less lockdowny. So as you said, yeah, that is our new normal now. We'll adapt.
We certainly will. And of course, you can find Brad on socials, on Facebook, Dr. Brad Tucker, on Twitter, btucker22. Trekzone's all over socials as well. Just search for Trekzone. Brad, let us dive into the headlines.
Talking Science headlines.
Northrop Grumman has been awarded another contract for Artemis, this time in regards to the Halo module.
Yeah, so, you know, this is kind of going to be one of the main crew quarters, and, you know, the gateway's still moving on. They're actively doing and assigning all the components, and they still want to hit a 2022-ish launch date with SLS and Orion, and I think what we'll see is the delay on anything will be SLS rather than the actual capsules and components being built. But, you know, it's reality and it's moving ahead, which is exciting to see.
Starlink has another launch and some more technology to try and limit its reflectivity.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the interest here, in my opinion, is the Starlink, but they're deploying the first of what they're calling the visors, where it's essentially a shield or visor that reflects the sunlight away from the Earth. So, you know, the reason we complain about satellites is sunlight bounces off the satellite and then bounces down to Earth, and you have a limited angle between, you know, after sunset, before sunrise, where the angles can work as you're passing over. If you design a shield that reflects it away at those times, so the light, instead of bouncing down, bounces up, or, you know, just away, it will significantly darken and potentially eliminate a lot of the problems that we're seeing with the Starlink satellites, and also without A, anything being costly, or B, anything compromising the mechanics and engineering of the craft. You know, they've talked about painting it black, but thermal properties aren't great for painting things in black. So this, and in fact, Elon Musk even said when he announced this at a conference with astronomers, you know, hey, this kind of just hit us as a very simple idea. And everyone's like, well, yeah, it kind of is. And if it works, great. You know, we all want to see it succeed and find that middle ground, and we hope this works.
Do you think it will?
In principle, it sounds right, but, you know, it nothing is ever straightforward. You know, obviously you worry about if it works, then components failing, you know, how well that works. But I think this has more promise than other iterations. And if this works, maybe this is actually not just for Starlink, but for all future satellites, because it's not just them, it's all the ones that go up. This could be a big benefit, but also could easily slide into helping limit the trackability of satellites. That would be actually quite useful for defense.
Talking Science, stories of the week.
Alrighty, Brad, let's get into our stories of the week. Like I said, it's an eclectic mix this week, kicking off with our nearest neighbour, or our other nearest neighbour, because the moon technically is our nearest neighbour. Mars used to have a ring system just like Saturn, apparently.
Yeah, and this has been something that is quite interesting. You know, when we look at Saturn, you know, it's famous for its rings, and, you know, that's what distinguishes it. When we look at Mars, we know that two of its moons, Phobos and Deimos, its two moons rather, they're tiny. We're talking about things that are 20-ish kilometers wide, smaller than a city. And at the same time, they're slowly falling towards the planet. So the gravity's pulling them in. They're slowly spiraling and spiraling and spiraling, getting closer. We think that at some point, gravity would rip it apart, form a ring. Now, that's always been the theory of what's going to happen in the future and, what's going to happen in 20 million years. The question is, how do those moons arise? And it appears from a recent study that they think that maybe it's a cyclical process, that as the moons go in, they fall, they form a ring system. That ring system eventually comes back together to form moons, which then spiral towards the planet and repeat. So these moons may have started out as a ring system altogether.
You can get social with Trekzone. Australia's unofficial home of Star Trek is everywhere you are. Just search for Trekzone.
We featured this last week as well, Australian astronomers leading the world in scientific research. Another discovery is fast radio bursts. And we've talked about these a little bit, I think, in the past. Glenn Nagel from the Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex will be on Monday next week to talk about Parkes' contribution to FRB discoveries. But there are 4 of these little signals that are throwing what scientists thought they knew in the trash can.
Yeah, we've definitely talked a lot about this, and in fact, last week we're trying to find the missing matter. And so the question is, where do these fast radio bursts come from? How are they created? And there's lots of theories that have come about, and one was they're somehow involving a supermassive black hole, either star orbiting around it, material falling into it, and as it gets near the black hole, the gravity of the black hole rips it apart, spits it out, releases a burst of energy, and it would be fairly quick. However, this recent study was able to pinpoint the locations of at least 4 of them, and all 4 did not occur in the center of the galaxy. So supermassive black holes essentially are always in the center of the galaxies. That's where they reside. That's how the black hole in the galaxy comes to form. So if it's coming from not dead the center where the black hole is, then it just doesn't involve a supermassive black hole, because even if you'd say maybe there's another black hole in there, well, there are other black holes. The supermassive black hole, if there would be another big one, would have already coalesced in the middle, unless for some reason that you happen to see its emerging galaxy system, 2 galaxies colliding. But then you would see 2 separate galaxies. So it kind of rules out one of the more used or potential explanations of fast radio bursts.
Well, from a few billion light years away to just a handful, Brad, astronomers have confirmed the size and generally that it's there. Proxima B, our closest exoplanet.
Yeah, and this is something that happened back in 2016, the announcement that there was an exoplanet around Proxima Centauri, the 3rd star of the Alpha Centauri system, that system that's only 4.2 light years away. And people believed that there was an exoplanet, but you A, always want confirmation, but B, a better measurement to actually measure the properties of it. And this new instrument, Espresso, which we've talked about in other cases, it was used for discovering the nearest black hole, as we talked about a few weeks ago, was able to pinpoint the exact size of this exoplanet, it being 1.17 times the mass of our Earth. So pretty similar in terms of size. It's actually closer in size to us than Mars is. The new Kepler Space Telescope is just looking at all the nearby stars to find the planets, because if planets are so common, we don't need to go look, we don't need to try hard. So let's just get the easy picking fruit, because that's the ones we should focus on.
Absolutely, Brad. Well, speaking of picking fruit, I say it every week now, but it is fun to pick apart the stories of the week with you. Yeah, there's 2 puns this week. I've got to chuckle out of one of them at least.
No, that's right. You got to get the third so you can get the trifecta. Pressure's on.
I can't think of it before we close the show.
Under pressure.
Can I put a pin in it and come back to it next week?
There we go. All right, that's right. We'll try for 3 next week.
Fantastic, Brad. We'll catch you then.
Take it easy.